Call the meeting to order. Ask everyone to stand. And Commissioner Tabb, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes from June 6th.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from June 6th. Is there discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Approval of requisitions for June 13th.
I move we approve requisitions for June 19th, 2019, in the amount of $41,773.58. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
I have, am I messed up? I have requisitions in my book for June 19th.
I have June 13th and June 19th. I mean, no, it's
25,
June 6th.
131, 57.
I just have June 19th.
Yeah, I only got 19th.
That's, how much did you say?
$41,773.58.
Oh, you all have the online version, maybe I'm missing a page.
Yeah, we had to revise it.
For the county clerk.
For the county revision.
Yeah.
So we had to revise it, we had to revise it to include the county clerk's requisitions.
Okay.
As they're due before we meet again.
Okay. So
So the
that's,
revision
they're
is-
182, I have 182,289.52 for the 19th, for June 19th. That's what you have, Jane?
At the body cameras.
It's in the little agenda packet that I put.
On at our tables. That's
Matches
what
what's on
I
the
was
screen,
using.
too.
Okay, that's my fault. I'm looking in my other papers, so.
So it's 41,000, right?
Yes,
Okay.
41,773.58. It should be at your table. Okay. So it has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, and so let's go down to accounts payable for June 13th. And I'll move approval of accounts payable for June 13th, sorry, in the amount of $450,444.82.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and approval of accounts payable for June 19th.
I move we.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I move approval of accounts payable June 19th, 2019, total amount $182,289.52.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we're down to manual checks for June 14th, and I'll move those in the amount of $305,051.62.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And manual checks for June 21st.
I move we approve manual checks for June 21st, 2019, in the amount of $300. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And we are down to payroll. And get to that.
All right, I move we approve payroll for June 13th, 2019, in the amount of $260,517.12.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve payroll. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, are there changes to the agenda, Ms. Grove?
The only change that I have is that our counsel who's representing us in several matters will be here at 6:30 because he's preparing for another trial that he has on Monday. So I told him I would put him as close to the beginning of the agenda as I could. So comment, and then he will be here at 6:30. And that may require an executive session, one
Okay.
of those issues.
All right, very good. Okay. If there are no other announcements, we'll move on to public comment, and I have a list of people here signed up to speak. The first one on the list is Peter Renosco, and we'll ask that you stick to the 3-minute time period, and the buzzer will buzz when your time is up. Thank you.
Timeliness is next to godliness. Honorable Commissioners, in about an hour, the Board of Education will do a presentation requesting that you approve a special election on Saturday, October the 26th. Now, there's been a lot of talk about various things as to what the special election is going to cover, but the important thing for you, the Honorable Commissioners, to consider is the special election, be it for bond issues, be it for excess levy, be it for anything in the world. Your job is to provide the appropriate oversight and deny or approve the request for a special election that will cost the taxpayer around $80,000 based on what it did 5 years ago. And it is my position that the school board cannot afford this special election. We have read in the newspaper where there are HVAC problems in various schools, where students are told to wear their coats in the middle of winter because they don't have enough heat, where before school let out in May, the air conditioning was non-functional, certainly in the Ranson school, but I've heard this of other schools. And I maintain that if students are locked in a classroom where the temperature is 90 degrees Fahrenheit, it's awful difficult to concentrate on reading, writing, and arithmetic. The school board can't approve it. On the other hand, maybe they could use the money that they want to spend on this special election to actually solve problems that are germane to the education of our students. And one of my problems is, as Mike McCowan of the State Auditor's Office said in an interview in a Charleston TV Channel 8 interview, that there are very little restrictions on how the school board chooses to spend its money. I think that given the circumstances we're facing, the $80,000 that they will tell you they have socked away for this special election can probably be used more appropriately than this, because it's going to be a freebie to the people if it appears in the primary in May. Thank you.
Thank you. Priscilla Browning, and we will take as many people as we can until 6:30. We will start our agenda at 6:30, and if there are people that remain that want to speak after our agenda is completed, we'll take you at that time.
Thank you for this.
It's on.
Okay.
It's voice activated, so it's.
Thank you for this opportunity for me to address my thoughts. As a conservative, in my opinion, to ask for a special election for a school tax levy is not being financially prudent and responsible in the use of taxpayer funds. Unless you can provide something or a justification in writing with an exact urgent reason why this needs to be done in a special election, it should be done during the 2020 May primary. Thank you.
Terry Storer.
Thank you for allowing me to speak here today. I am here to discuss the Jefferson County Board of Election request for a special election. All I say is, please deny it. It's a $90,000 bill going to the taxpayers that the Board of Education could spend on our children and our children's education. Thank you.
Mark Everhart.
Good evening. I like the new podium, by the way. So according to your agenda later tonight, you're going to be hearing from Superintendent Gibson and Board of Education member Kathy Skinner. They're going to ask you to approve a special election in October to vote on a bond for the Board of Education. I'm here today to ask that you deny that bond or that request. As you know, the Board of Education is currently engaged in a highly publicized eminent domain lawsuit. According to legal filings, their own lawyers admit that when the board agreed to pursue this lawsuit, they were in violation of West Virginia's Open Meetings Act. They lost their initial legal motion and have decided to appeal. A recent Spirit of Jefferson headline proclaimed that this appeal could cost upwards of $750,000, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. If the Board of Education decides to fully take this matter into trial, county taxpayers are looking at a much higher amount of legal fees. Once again, keep in mind that all of this was decided in violation of the Open Meetings Act, and that in issuing her ruling, the federal judge who decided against the BOE chastised them, saying their case was without merit. I've been told that special elections cost roughly $80,000 to $90,000, all of which would come from the Board of Education's budget. I find it appalling that the board would waste taxpayer money on what seems to be a frivolous lawsuit and then come before you asking for permission to waste even more money to hold a special election for a matter that could easily be voted on for no additional cost to taxpayers during the 2020 primary election. If this doesn't go against the public interest and isn't blatant misuse of taxpayer funds, I'm not sure what is. Additionally, over the past year, I've attended several county commission meetings and witnessed multiple people come before you to complain about the fact that they had no say in bringing Rockwell to Jefferson County. Well, we don't really get a say in the Board of Education's legal vendetta against the company either, but we do get a say in how they're funded. It's a well-known fact that voter turnout during special elections is lower than normal elections. 5,874 people voted in the last special election versus around 23,000 in the 2016 primary. Out of respect for those that have complained so loudly about Rockwell and not having a voice in that matter, it only seems fair that you would vote to give everyone a voice by now denying the BOE's request for a special election and holding the bond vote during the 2020 primary. I offer no opinion on the bond itself. Ultimately, Jefferson County voters will decide its merit. However, that should happen during the regularly scheduled primary election, not during a very costly special election in October. Once again, I ask that you please deny the Board of Education's request for a special election. Thank you.
Dan Casto?
Good evening. So, like the speakers before me, I'm here to speak tonight about the bond and this Rockwell controversy generally. So tonight, the Board of Education is coming before you to request that you run their election for them. They may be able to run their own election. I don't think it's really clear. They haven't given you guys anything in your agenda. They're not even prepared. But what they are prepared to do is go out and spend up to $60 million in new facilities with, and I'm going to quote a federal judge here, with no forethought. She actually said that the Student Support Center was done without forethought. She also said that the Board of Education's actions were so egregious as to shock the conscience, they were irrational, they were arbitrary, they violated due process, they were done with animus, and that the Student Support Center was going to be paid for by a bond that may fail or it may pass. The Board of Education's entire purpose behind this bond is one thing. It's to act with animus against a company that by all accounts has followed the law. If you tonight vote to allow them or to run their election for them, you are taking part in what a federal judge has called unconstitutional. And by the way, anything they tell you tonight, you should really take with a grain of salt, because as a federal judge found, Ms. Skinner and Dr. Gibson's testimony was unbelievable. If it was unbelievable, they were under oath. What does that tell you? On Resist Rockwell, on this movement, Jefferson County Vision, I, for months, including when I was on the Development Authority, have been telling you they are ran by a small group of very extreme individuals. Noah Kai Newkirk, professional paid protester. Who's paying for him? I don't know. We found a new one, Mike Gams from California. Well, he's anti-Catholic, he's anti-police. He says throwing bricks at police officers is just good practice. He thinks the Vatican should be burned down. One of the leaders of Resist Rockwell just today posted anti-Catholic comments. Miss Susan Pipe, she's come here many times. These people are running the Board of Education. It's sad. And if you allow them to continue to do it, you are a party to it. So tonight, we can start to take back the county. We've lost hundreds of jobs, millions of dollars of tax revenue, millions of dollars of taxpayer dollars. We can't get that back, but we can stop the damage, and it's up to you tonight to do so. Thank you.
Ray Bruning.
Thanks for the opportunity. My name's Ray Bruning, and I kind of don't like the podium. I like to sit, so. But I'm here. My gripe is the same as everyone else's tonight on the Board of Special, the Board of Education special election. Mark kind of stole some of my thunder there. The 2015 board levy, there were 5,874 voters. The 2016 primary, there were over 4 times, 23,000. We always claim we want everybody involved in the democratic process, but when it comes into reaching into our pocketbooks and asking the taxpayers for more money, it sure seems like they want to limit the people who choose, who'll choose by holding this special election. Obviously, the only people that come out special elections are people that have a vested interest. And unfortunately, a lot of times the taxpayers don't even know what's going on. At times, our local government has been unfairly accused of backroom dealings. So let's not give the citizens the appearance of another backroom deal because they might not have been paying attention to the special election. That's all. Thank you.
Catherine Parker. I think it says Parker. Well, we'll come back to her if she comes in.
Might be Catherine Rucker.
Oh, I think you might be right. Catherine Rucker?
There's one.
No, doesn't want to speak? Okay. Tom Adsit?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Whoops, okay. I'm also here to talk about the special election in September. I vote no for it, and the government really needs to be fiscally responsible, and something that can wait a few more months and be done in the primaries. It makes absolutely no sense to have an election in September when it can wait anyway. I think it's the government's responsibility to save the taxpayers' money as much as possible, and spending it on that is just, what, I guess 8 months later, it's $10,000 a month that can be saved and spent on other things such as air conditioning and some of the repairs that need to be made to the buildings, or even just back to the taxpayers. Thank you very much.
Terry Courtright?
Good evening. Thank you for letting me to speak. I moved to the county in 1990, have voted in many special elections for excess school levies. There's nothing, and it doesn't need a special election. There's nothing special about renewal of a school levy. It happens every 5 years. You can kind of plan for that. And speaking of that, I am not sure, so I do not support and would recommend that you deny any request for a special election at any time. It should be held in May or in November during a regularly scheduled election. But this happens every 5 years, and I've never had any adequate explanation of why it's on this odd cycle of 5 years, where every other county-wide election happens on even-numbered years, every 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. It's probably not within your purview to say how often, the length of the levy, but I would suggest the school board needs to address that problem. So you can move it to May, deny the special election, have it on the primary, and if it's done every 4 years, it could happen every 4 years and save $90,000 every 4 years or more. Thank you for your time.
Regina Smith? I think there are chairs in here if you want to sit down. Okay.
Good evening. I am also here to comment on the special election as a taxpayer. So given that the County Board of Education has taken it upon themselves to engage in a very expensive political action, given that in addition to the $750,000 that at minimum, this political action will cost, the Board of Education wants to spend another $80,000 to $90,000 on a special election. Given that the levy can be voted on in the May 2020 primary at no additional cost to taxpayers, given that the taxpayers, in good faith, pay their taxes and always vote for additional funds for the levy, given that the taxpayers expect their dollars to be spent on the county's children and not as a political action fund for the members of the Board of Education and their personal political goals, I respectfully ask the members of the County Commission to deny the request of the Board of Education to hold a special election that we, the taxpayers, will be expected to pay for. Thank you.
Diane Blust.
Good evening, everyone. I passed out a legal notice from the Spirit of Jefferson outlining the fact that JUI plans to take over Fox Glen Utilities and increase water rates by up to 39.32%. I know that you all are pretty impotent when it comes to helping us, but you can sign pilot agreements and help foreign corporations. So I really hope that you will help the citizens of Jefferson County in this case. There's not time for you to take this up in a council meeting before the comments are due. So I would love for you to prove me wrong that you're impotent. As residents of Jefferson County who happen to be county commissioners, I challenge each of you to put pen to paper and write the PSC to oppose such an egregious rate increase for your fellow citizens. Demand a hearing on JUI's plans right here in Jefferson County. And if the PSC says they can't come here because of threats of violence, tell them that there has never been violence at a PSC hearing in Jefferson County. There's never been violence in your meetings. It just doesn't exist. The other thing I'd like to know is what's going on with JCDA. I understand you're probably going to have to discuss that in executive session, but maybe you could give us just a little heads up on what your thinking is on that. Thanks.
Matt McKinney.
Hi there. I'm also here about the school bond. I'm just going to keep it short. I mean, to spend $80,000 for voter suppression, it really just doesn't seem like it's a good fiduciary, decision to make. As others have stated, we've got issues with the facilities in the school, the air conditioning. Ransom, they can't even get school buses to get their children there. And then we also, there's a big group of parents that are looking for soccer facilities. I think this money could be better spent, and I appreciate you guys, taking the time and really taking time to think about this decision. I do encourage you to vote no. Thank you.
Jack Heffestay.
Greetings, Commissioners. I'd like to address the common sense conservatives and the common sense liberals who are here tonight. The special election is not a good expenditure of our tax dollars. I've worked as a poll worker on special elections before. The turnout is sparse. It's not representative of the community. It's a way to get an extra cycle to get money out of the taxpayers without getting a full look from all of the people in the county. Education is a high priority for all citizens, and it should not be politicized. And I feel that the school board has politicized themselves in the county over a divisive issue, and they need to stop it and get to business and take care of the stuff that they're supposed to do and not go into side politics. I think that's wrong. I know many of you on the board, and I know you have a lot of integrity, and this just isn't right. I just, in summary, I just ask you, implore you to rebuke this special election request, and let's get back to common sense values and common sense management of monies. Thank you.
Ramona Westling?
Hello. There is no good excuse for wasting $90,000 on a special election. We've heard them all over the years, and they're no good. We tend to watch as you waste, even though there are some things that you do that we truly do appreciate. There is a lot of waste. Then you take more, you raise our taxes. Then we watch as you waste those dollars too. But we're here tonight to watch, and the only question you have to answer tonight is, will you be a responsible steward of our tax dollars, or will you be a free spender of our money? Thank you.
Mark Westling?
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate your time, appreciate you allowing us to speak. As everyone else has said in front of me, please don't allow this to happen tonight. It's a travesty. It's a waste of our county tax dollars. And I appreciate those that have responded to the emails that I've sent concerning this. Thank you.
Okay. That completes the list, and we're ready to move on to the 6:30 appointment. So, Mr. Kennedy, you want to come in? Come on down.
Madam President?
Yes.
Was there anybody else signed up for public comment? There's still a few minutes left till 6:30.
Nope.
No? Okay.
That's everybody on the list. I don't have you on my list.
He brought this to me.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Put more time on the clock.
No. Roger Forshee?
I wanted to talk about an item on the agenda today titled Jefferson County Public Service District Board Member for Successful Defense of Ethics Complaint Discussion and Possible Action. And I think what the board is going to discuss are issues regarding potential reimbursement of this former PSD member. As a former PSD board member, and it's certainly not me, so because the agenda didn't really have much information, I looked back into the public information, and I noticed back in October 2017, December 2017, and now today it appears that William H. Strider, former chairman of the PSD, requested the Jefferson County Commission reimburse him, not Strider LLC, for almost $8,000 for his legal expenses for complaint files against him with the Public Service and Ethics Commission. A review of the October 26, 2017 JCC minutes and agenda show that Bill Strider, as an individual, did not pay for these legal services, but rather a private company named Strider LLC actually wrote the checks for the PSD board members' legal defense, and that's in the public record. My question for you tonight are, should this topic even be discussed today, since Mr. Strider's previous submission does not appear to have listed any expenses actually paid by him? If the expenses are from Strider LLC, as shown in the previous submission, then shouldn't the agenda item be scheduled for another day after proper public notification? Additionally, the October 26, 2017 Jefferson County Commission meeting minutes state it was the consensus of the Commission to direct Mr. Cochran to receive an opinion from the West Virginia Attorney General as to whether the County Commission or the Jefferson County Public Service District should be responsible for reimbursing Mr. Strider for his legal fees. So again, my question would be, or you should have, asked Mr. Cochran, did he actually receive an opinion from the West Virginia Attorney General? You know, another question to consider is, can a former PSD board member accept and then use thousands of dollars directly and indirectly from a private company to pay for his own personal legal bills for defending complaints with the Public Service Commission, which they did find were certainly reasonable when they accepted the complaint? Can a former PSD board member petition on behalf of a private company, Strider LLC, reimbursement for these funds from the County Commission, the Public Service District, or more importantly, now that it's been sold to Charlestown as the new owner? Will any decision by the JCC on this topic set a precedent? So could myself or any other board member also file claims for any expenses we may have incurred while serving on the board? I look forward to an open meeting discussion on this non-employee topic, since nothing in the Open Meeting Act permits a public agency to close a meeting that otherwise would be open merely because an agency attorney is participating or the topic is not popular.
Okay, now we're going to move on with the rest of the agenda, and those who have not been able to speak will be able to speak at the end. So, Mr. Kennedy, you are up next, I believe. So,
You want to, I think most of his items are appropriate
for executive session? Okay, all right. And so this is in regards to,
I think there's the EEOC charge.
18C.
18C, okay, good, because I couldn't remember.
CC 71? Okay,
The EEOC charge.
Okay.
And then the last item.
okay. All right.
Advisory committee?
Right.
I mean, can we give the public some background detail on what exactly that is?
Well, the only,
It's a document that I've produced.
Nothing like that needs to be discussed in legal, but what exactly is the reason for even talking about an advisory board?
well, we've discussed it before
Yeah,
to
but-
see what alternatives there are with regard to the Jefferson County Development Authority, and this is just information with regard to that.
I mean,
And Mr.
who
Kennedy-
requested that specifically?
Well, I put it on the, I put it on the agenda before, and we were going to get more information about it, and this is more information about it.
Well, I've gotten a significant number of questions regarding what this actually is.
Okay.
So are you interested in dismantling the JCDA? Do
I'm
you
not-
want to make
I
it
don't-
larger, put another arm of it?
I don't know what I'm interested in. I just want to know what the alternatives are.
Okay, well, I hope we can share something after executive session that's
Well,
not
we'll
between
see.
legal counsel regarding this, because
And I do think if the county commission took any of those actions, they would have to discuss it in open session. So if they were, I mean, if you were considering doing any number of those things that you just, that would have to be a discussion that happened in open session, but I think right now you're just asking.
you say advisory, from your perspective, are you talking about individual citizens, commissioners?
I don't know. That's what we need to find out. That's what I'm trying to learn. I don't have the information. I don't know what it would consist of, and that's why I'm asking for information about it.
I'm just trying to figure out, we have a functional JCDA currently, after months of shenanigans. So why are we now talking about an advisory committee to the JCDA? It just
Because I
doesn't make
want-
sense to me.
Because I want the information,
Okay,
Josh.
that's fine.
I
It's
think I'm
just-
entitled to that.
That's fine, but
And I think we're all entitled to that.
But if we're not talking about a specific case or anything, and we're just talking about generalities, why be an executive session?
Well, I think at least what I'm ready to talk to the commissioners about tonight is the interplay between the status of 18C 171 and various other code sections and what some alternatives may be for the commissioners. That's what I'm prepared.
But that's not about a particular case or anything, is it?
There's an ongoing case, 171 is
Okay, well,
not
that's
been
what I want to
resolved.
be clear, Rick. Commissioner Nolan's indicating she's just trying to get general information, but you're talking about a specific case, so that's different. That's why.
so is the agenda item accurate then? I'm fine going into executive session for 18C 171 and the EEOC, but I'm not going to agree for the advisory committee.
All right, I'm going to make the motion that we go into executive session to discuss case number 18C 171 and discussion of an advisory committee or an alternative to the JCDA and the process for implementing an alternative.
And aren't we also going to, if we go into executive session, talk about the EEOC charge?
Yeah, yes, he did mention that one. And that's the 533 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, add that one to it. Good. So it's been moved and
I'll second it.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Maybe I'm just being confused. It sounds like we're talking about three different things. And talking about, it's one motion, so I'm going to vote no because I think it can be divided.
Yeah, I'll agree with Commissioner Lorenzetti. Is the agenda item listed at the end about the advisory committee accurate? If it's just an open discussion, what legal precedent is there to go into executive session for that?
Well, I want information with regard to that, so,
I mean,
and seeking legal advice, I guess, as to how that would be, that could be done.
All right, that just sounds a little fishy to me, but I'm not going to agree to
Well,
that.
the only thing I can think of is there potential liabilities in it.
Exactly.
Right? In any potential changes we would make. Right?
I mean, just for information, how are there liabilities?
Well, I think that's a question for legal. That's a legal question. And I think that's the question we need to ask our lawyer.
And I'm thinking I'm understanding is the last item talking about advisory committee and alternative also wrapped around this civil court action 18C 171, or are they totally separate? That's what I want to understand.
Well, they're not joined at the hip, so to speak, in this document, but there is interplay and ramifications from one and the other, which is what I was trying to articulate to Mr. Lorenzetti, and I probably did a poor job on that.
That's sort of what I thought you meant, but I wasn't sure.
All right, so I'm going to call the question. All in favor of going into executive session to discuss the items that have been named as a reason to go into executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
All right, we're going into executive session by a vote of 3 to 2.